When these, chateaus are bought, again, they're very, sometimes very inexpensive, their original purchase price, but then to restore them takes a lot of dedication, a lot of patience. There are obviously things that happen. There are storms, there are trees that fall, there are things that don't work the way they were planned, but someone has the courage to continue. The results, I think, as you can see here, is excellence. So I'm Suzanne Isoré. I'm editorial director at Flammarion Publishers in Paris. And I've been at the company for nearly 35 years now. We've been working on books on historical houses for many, many years. The Château de Villette has often been called the Petit Versailles because of the perfection of its design. But it was really in the mid-18th century when the Marquess of Grouchy inherited the property that it became the really epicenter of the Enlightenment and all the ideals of the Enlightenment, where they discussed in the evening great ideas, and it was really a center for thought and of the Enlightenment. Villette's dining room is famous among French chateaux because it was among the first two rooms in France in a French chateau that were originally conceived to be dining rooms. Before, people had a table set up in their bedrooms or in a small salon if it was cold in the winter. But this is really a new concept of the French art de vivre, where people learned and sat together. They gathered together in a room specifically dedicated to that function. There's an 18th century, slight 18th century theme to each room, and at the same time there's a chinoiserie theme that runs through each room. In this room, for example, they drilled down through many, many layers of paint that had been all different colors and found this wonderful blue color, this wonderful powdery, soft blue, and which they imagined to be really a great decor for their Chinese porcelain collection. The owner's great collection of Chinese porcelains is in this room and displayed throughout, and it was organized with Jacques Garcia, the way that would be presented. So this way of living became really the highest point of the French art de vivre of the 18th century and a model for many, many other chateaux in France. And it was about 15 years ago that the present owners discovered it in this almost sleeping beauty state. During the Second World War, it had been occupied by the Germans. A small bomb had been dropped on one edge of the chapel. Part of the garden had been destroyed. And of course, buying a chateau is one thing, but keeping it up and restoring it is really where the difficulties and problems began. But the owners today recognize how beautiful this chateau could become and could be a wonderful setting for their decorative arts collections. The owners were already great collectors of decorative arts and absolutely fascinated by the 18th century. They turned to Jacques Garcia, who is one of France's preeminent decorators, with the collections that existed and also in consultation with the owners, how their collections could be deployed throughout the house in these brilliant and very deep colored environments. He studied not only the archives, he worked with the French Historical Monument Society, so they were able to study each room and have silks woven specifically for everything in each room. Everything was made soft and comfortable and colorful in the bedrooms upstairs. So there are these deep mauve or a deep red or blue bedroom, and to obviously respect everything that had been previously done here, but also to make it a family home. We're in the Louis XIV salon here, which is also a music room with a beautiful piano, Steinway, by the way, and a fantastic collection of 18th century paintings, both Louis XV up through Louis XVI. This is the master bathroom, which was something very personal to the owners because the first time they ever came to Paris, they stayed in the Ritz Hotel and they stayed in the Chanel suite, and they were so impressed that they tried to replicate the beautiful experience they had at the Ritz Hotel by using these very old Coromandel screens to make the wood paneling for the bathroom. So this was very much developed here in the house, but always with a sense of comfort and beauty in mind, and lots of color. That was the whole concept of creating this element of surprise. When the visitor arrives from up above the road, they're welcomed by these two arms that embrace you as you walk down or come down in your carriage and enter into this wonderful stone building. So I think we can imagine that the architecture of the Château de Villette was almost an orchestration of the view. So as we turn and go into this great octagonal hall on the back side of the house, we have the French formal gardens, which are absolutely fantastic, that can be viewed all over the valley from the back stairs of the home. They're a romantic garden on either side and French formal gardens based on a plan by Le Nôtre, which were lovingly restored during the restoration process and are an ongoing project. It works perfectly and is alimented by a spring, a natural spring down at the bottom, and by the Aubette River, which runs through the bottom of the property. The Aubette was also opened up into these wonderful water features, which are on either side, which are mirror water features, so that anyone who walks around the property can have not only a beautiful view of the chateau, but also its reflection from every point of view. It's extremely interesting way of being in the landscape, and this sense of surprise when you arrive to it.